Hello, you're through to the Queen of Being Seen. My name's 𝗙𝗵𝗱, and I'm a visibility specialist who's been doing this since 2010 to help you to raise your professional profile, put yourself out there, and kind of get yourself out there in a way that you're seen by the people you want to be seen by, you're heard by the people that it's important for you to do, and that you're taken seriously. But in this video, today, I'm going to talk not so much about visibility itself, but why it's important for you to be seen and for you to be visible. So, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are self-employed, if you're a business owner, maybe you're a speaker that wants to get out there and speak more, perhaps you're a coach, you're a trainer, or you're even a consultant. I have so many conversations with people who are freelancing, consulting, and trying to put their work out there in the world in a way that makes a difference. And of course, when people hear that I am an expert in you being visible, then they ask me 101 questions. But here's the real place to start from. Now, if you've been following my YouTube channel at any point, you'll know that I have spoken about the ABC, but from the career kickstart point of view. Today, I'm going to talk about why the ABC is important for you as somebody who's likely spinning the plates of creating your own leads, generating sales, marketing your services. Perhaps you're even balancing by writing your own trainings, creating your own products and services, making your own online programs, writing your books, getting your work out there. So here's the place to start. And I'll start by showing you a little graphic. I'll flash it up every now and then because who wants to just stare at a graphic all the way through? So here it is. Hopefully you can see it. It's very simple, very clear. It's a Venn diagram. And this came from people ultimately wanting to be visible, wanting to put themselves out there. So there are three easy things to remember, really easy things to remember, the ABC. So A is your audience, B is the business, and C is your credibility. But what does that mean for you and why be visible? So the first thing that you will need to think about, whether you're a trainer, corporate or business or anywhere else in between, if you are a speaker, a business owner, a founder, you will need to know who your audience is. I often say to people, this means really identifying who your who is. Now, even though it's been 15 years at the time of making this video, when I started, people focused a lot more on your niche, and I never felt 100% comfortable with that. I understand that your audience, if you niche it down, it obviously makes it easier to find those kinds of people. But what I found over the last, decade and a half is that many of you have different clusters of people that you speak to. So your job is to make sure that you can identify them. And I often sort of say to clients, identify them in a way that's so crystal clear that you could literally write that person down or that audience down on a piece of paper, hand it to somebody else, and they will understand who it is you're speaking to. Now, some people will describe their audience and it will be really vague. They'll say things like, well, it's for anyone who, you know, or they'll say, well, everyone can benefit from this. And whilst that's true, if you aren't clear on the people who will be best served in your audience, then nobody listens to you. Everyone in their head kind of goes, oh, that's not me then, and they walk on by. Now, I know that for some of you, you think that means excluding people that you really want to be involved with, be connected with, but it doesn't happen that way. Be crystal clear with your audience, and they will understand who it is you're speaking to. Now, the next piece is your business. What's the point in aspiring to be an international speaker, getting on planes, trains, and driving in cars or being driven for hours when, as part of your business, you perhaps built it so that you could be close to your family at home? You don't want to travel, 24/7. You don't want to be on the road And it's reputed that Jack Canfield, who's had a phenomenal career as an author, as a speaker, motivational speaker at that, and is just all round great with the stuff he shares. But I remember listening to one of his classes many years ago where he talked about traveling sometimes for up to 40, I think it was 48 weeks of the year. Think about that. That's 4 weeks at home. If that's what you want, that's fine. But if it's something that bumps up against the reason why you created your business, i.e., to spend more time with your children at home, maybe you're a carer, maybe you're a home person, a homebody that just likes to be close to home, that's okay. But make sure that your visibility plan links back to the business that you're actually in. And quite often when people go a bit deeper in this with me, either one-to-one or in group programs, we get to explore the kind of questions to ask yourself and make sure that that lines up with your audience and with what you're doing and with how you're being visible too. Okay, so C is about your credibility. Now, this probably should be C for cringe. This is the part that does make me cringe the most because many people out there love the way someone shows up online, whether it's Richard Branson or whether it's Oprah, whether it's somebody else that you admire, maybe a celebrity, a creative, an influencer. And the moment they clock how they show up, they say to themselves, you know what? I really love what they do. I'm going to do it like them. Now, this is what makes it sad to me. It means that people end up behaving online, especially, and sometimes in person too. End up behaving in a way that doesn't feel like them, and it makes them feel cringeworthy, and it comes across in what they do. Think about this. When Reels started coming out on TikTok, right at the start of that, a lot of people were dancing and pointing, and some people pulled it off really well, whereas others just looked like they didn't want to be there. They looked awkward, they looked embarrassed. And that isn't the best way for them to build their credibility if it's not in alignment with them, if they're not feeling it. So there are lots of ways you can demonstrate your credibility. And again, this video is far too short amount of time for that, because what I want to show you is how all of these correlate. So you'll see from what you're looking at in front of you, you've got V in the middle of that, which is the kind of the nucleus, if you like, the ultimate of where you want to get to be visible. But if you've got an audience of people with no business just yet, and this happens quite a lot, especially in the influencer and creative industries, you have a lot of people looking at you, but no way of monetizing that. And if you're a business, you do need to make money. And it's up to you how much you want to make and how you want to do it. But I'd say just do it ethically. So if you've got an audience, but no business, you've got no way of monetizing that. If you've got a business with no audience, you literally have nobody to sell it to. And again, on my not very creatively named head office days, which happen on the last Friday of every month, when I've had people get together and talk about what worked well last month and what didn't, and what they're going to take forward into the next month, and there's a series of questions that we ask to get to that, what they realize is that if you don't have a look at where you're going to and where your audience is, then it feels futile. You feel frustrated, you feel tired out. But the good news is, even if you don't have 10,000 followers on Instagram or 1 million people that follow you anywhere else online, or hundreds and thousands of hits to your website, you still have an audience. Now, I know this seems a bit kind of strange to say, but people are always watching. I say this all the time. People are always watching. Just because they're not liking, just because they're not sharing, just because they're not commenting, doesn't mean that they're not watching. All that means is they might not be engaging, but depending on what you do in terms of your work, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. So if you've got the business with no credibility, This is really a part of our identity as a person, and we can't just go in and change it overnight. And people will tell you, say mantras and affirmations, or stop doing this thing and do that thing, and it will change. But in my experience, that's not true. What tends to happen is when we need to look at our identity and who we are becoming or who we are being when we're sharing our business, speaking to our audience, demonstrating our credibility, there's a lot of work that goes underneath. It's the reason why I say visibility is an inside job. It's not about what happens inside coming in to make you be visible. It's about what happens inside coming out to show people your visibility and to stand in your strength while you do it. So finally, if you are credible but have no audience, and I'm going to talk about an old school reference here, if anyone ever remembers the Harry Enfield sketches with the guy that used to come up and say, "Hello, only me. You don't want to do it like this, you want to do it like that." What happens is when you've got credibility and no audience, you will speak to anybody who will listen. That could be your family, your friends, the people closest to you, the people in the supermarket. Maybe you go out and do some in-person networking, and the first person that comes over and says hello gets all of your experience, all of why they should be doing the thing that you do, why they should be buying it from you, why it's the best thing. And you will be very like evangelical about it, but you might be speaking to the wrong who. Remember, your who is the part of your audience too. So next time you want to put a visibility plan together, I know it feels exciting just to jump straight ahead and go for the flashy names of the courses, the advertising and the graphics. Maybe you're going to chuck some money at some Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads or do some stuff on Google. But before you can do any of that and have it make a real difference, not just to you and your business, but to the people out there that you want to support as well, you'll need to make sure that these very simple but basic pieces are in place. So what happens next? People often watch videos like this and think, "Oh, that's great. Off I go. I'll get round to doing that." And they don't. So if you know you're the sort of person that needs to have your feet held to the fire, perhaps you want to look at getting in contact with a coach. Now, obviously, I would love that to be me. I coach and mentor people through it because sometimes people are simply fearful. I have the skills in my back pocket there to be able to guide you through that. Sometimes people just aren't sure on what to say or how to say it, and they come to me for that. I have years of experience, not just with myself, but mentoring hundreds and thousands of people now through various different professional visibility scenarios. So if that's something you would like to do, then definitely get in contact with me either on LinkedIn or Facebook or even Instagram. I'll put my links of where you can find me online, or you can even check out my website to see which other companies that I've worked with, and get in contact and let me know. I have some really special things coming up that I would love to share with you. But most of all, I would love you to be unapologetically visible because your voice matters. That's it for this week, and I will see you very soon. Bye for now.